Okay, we lit it just like a fuse, so no need to pick and choose. Welcome to 2020, where we do more than interviews. The hottest be coming through, jumping knowledge on all of you. Get a bigger the front of you with the truth that they offer you. Yeah, hands up, we doing it for the culture. To give artists and businesses more exposure. Keeping it real and stay solid just like a boulder. It's about to go all the way down, can't get no lower. Chasing my dreams, know that they get no slower. But if I stay running, I promise they getting closer. Moreover, success my older. And if you're sleeping on me, I'm waking them up like Folgers. I told you, coming from the land with the tide roll. Well, we'll be on a whole different vibe though. We like to ride slow and keep our windows tinted so you really can't see us. Like Stevie Wonder waking up with his eyes closed. Yeah, got the kind of flow that rock the boat. On my 16s of pounds of dope. And if you figure you can hang with me on the mic, then grab some rope. Matter of fact, better grab some hope. While you at it, we keep it live. It's time to tune in. Turn up the sound on what you're using. It goes so hard, I think it's bruising. The show is 2020, no need to zoom in. Yeah.
And it's straight like that. Hey, yo, what's up? I'm your boy, Sir, of the 2020 podcast, also known as the 2020 Network LLC. Please say the LLC. And today I got a special guest, Mr. Nicholas Jordan, aka Cool Colas, is in the building. How you doing today, bro?
I'm good. How you doing?
Man, I could complain about work, but I ain't gonna do that today. Nobody wants to hear that because today is about you, brother. Listen. We have a mutual acquaintance, a young lady of the 2020 Network, Ebony the Goddess. She met you and she immediately messaged me and was like, "Hey, yo, I know this guy. I just met him. I gave him your info. I'm sending him your way. I really think he'd make a dope interview." I said, "Okay, cool. Send me his info."
Mm-hmm.
I looked you up on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
I saw what you were trying to do. And I was like, "Oh man, this man's a nerd like me. I'm in there. Let's go. Let's get it."
Yes, sir.
Nerdism, if it's the blurred community, I am there, bro. That is what we do. So before we get started, let me just offer a moment and say thank you for taking time out your day to do this. As a fellow entrepreneur, I know how important time is, so I wanted to make sure that I offer my appreciation to you, brother.
No, I appreciate you having me on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So let's get into it. With the business minute, the one thing that we're going to do is we're going to highlight the ups, the downs, the raw, the real of being an entrepreneur. So Nicholas, or as we like to call you in the Blair community, Cool Colas, what is it that you do, brother?
So I have a business called Cool Colas LLC. I am a publisher. I do books. I do comic books. And eventually I'm going to be publishing board games at a certain point as well, too. But outside of publishing different content, I also am an activist. I'm a speaker, and I also am a YouTuber. And I talk a lot about pro-Blackness in the media that we see in order to create a better media.
I love that, bro. And I love that in this time, and you know what I'm talking about. I think that sense of community is important. I think reestablishing those connections that may have been lost since the pandemic has been, kind of put on the back step. I remember during the pandemic, we were very tight, and I'm noticing we're kind of integrating back into going into our own worlds. I think remaining pro-Black is one of the positive things that we can bring back together and emphasize on. Hence, networking the way we met. So you mentioned, being in this business of being a publisher. How long have you been in this particular field of publishing?
I've been doing this 4 years now.
Man, listen, that feels like a lifetime, don't it?
It does. You almost forget like how long it's actually been because of like how long you've been doing it. So yeah.
I feel you, bro. Like as somebody who's been doing podcasting for over 5 years now, and it's weird saying that out loud, you do tend to lose track if you get so busy in doing things a particular way. Like you're doing meetings, you're creating content, like you're saying, and believe me, being a content creator, man, there's some uncharted overtime in there somewhere, I'm sure.
Man, you ain't lying because, one thing I had to start doing was actually setting a timer because I would do projects for hours because I had so many different ideas and things that I wanted to put out there. And then when I'm creating content, either if it's like from Instagram or for YouTube, it'll take me hours to not just like shoot the video, but then also edit it and then put it out there and then put the right stuff, the tags and all that. It takes a long time. So I have to set limits on how long I'm working on things. So I feel you.
Man, so it sounds like you're talking about discipline. So I got to start at the beginning because that's a learned thing, like especially in the fledgling creation era, especially with the boom in the pandemic. So let me ask you this, like what inspired you to start and become a publisher, a content creator? Like what got your gears focused in that direction?
I'm going to be honest. Autonomy has always been very important to me. I've always wanted to control my own destiny and I wanted to control my own stories. And the thing about me is, although I'm a writer, I'm also a storyteller. And that's the main thing that I tell people. I'm all about telling a good story, whatever way that I can. But I don't like this idea of somebody else telling me the way I should tell the story that I'm telling. So I wanted to self-publish, which is what I do, because I wanted to be able to control the narrative and the things that I say. And ultimately, I saw that there was this thing where if I'm looking at a different movie or television show or whatever the case may be, a lot of times like there's certain messages, agendas, tropes, things like that are commonly put into these things. So for me, I didn't want that in the content that I was creating. And I believed that I had a good product. So for me, I'm like, let me just start with actually creating, stories either through books or comic books. And then when they finally, flourish and other people are able to see when I'm doing it, they can elevate to other places.
I love that. And going your way is an American dream. And there's a lot of I want to say unsaid steps that you have to learn along the way. You know what I mean? So let me ask you this, like, what were some of the obstacles that you encountered along the way in these 4 years? Because like I said, 4 years is a long time for a content creator.
Most definitely. So some of the obstacles, and I'm going to be honest, most of them were really mental. Most of them were, is this going to work? Can you make a brand out of what you're doing and that type of thing? And let me explain what I mean by that. So when I first started doing the whole publishing thing, putting my content out there, putting myself out there, my original idea was to give Black people, especially Black men, a voice in writing, because I didn't see a lot of Black male writers being represented in the genre that, I was doing, or the genres that I had in mind to do when I created books. So I wanted to give, again, Black men a voice. But eventually I turned this into this pro-Black thing because my feeling was I wanted to talk about why Black people should be promoted more in representation, why we should have control over the things that we create. And I created an entire brand that shows that through example, through what I do, and also the messages that I talk about and the things that I teach people are also to show you how this can happen.
Okay. No, I like that you're taking the knowledge you have and you're spreading it, because there are some people, unfortunately, that'll gain knowledge and try to immediately profit off of it instead of bettering the community. They're trying to better themselves first. And I do believe that your time is worth money, but in some cases, I think there should be like a fair trade-off. If you encountered something and it was a blessing to you, reciprocate that. Be a blessing to someone else. And from what you're saying, I'm invoking, like, I'm really feeling that that's the route that you're taking within your publishing and your brand. So thank you for doing that on behalf of the community. So let me ask you this, because there's only so many hours in the day. How do you balance like being a creative and your personal life and working? Because obviously you still have to eat, you still have to pay bills. So how do you balance it?
Absolutely. So this actually kind of blends into that previous question where you were asking about obstacles, but I wanted to give a little bit of context. So when it comes to balancing work and life, that is an everyday struggle. I'm not going to lie to you. So I have to be consistent in the schedules that I create and the ways that I kind of time myself and I discipline myself in, what I'm doing. So I know the times where I'm going to obviously be working because that's already fixed for me, in my job. And then I schedule how long I work on certain content pieces, What days do I stream? I have specific days I actually stream, specific times I actually stream as well too. So I stay consistent with those times and say, hey, listen, this is going to be a fixed thing unless I'm ill or unless something is going on that's out of my control. I'm going to absolutely do this thing that I have to do. So that's why I use streaming as the example. So for me, it's being scheduled, staying with the schedule, staying disciplined, and then also too, just being aware of when it's overwhelming for me. One thing I will say is that I have had the issue of being taking on a lot of things and it becoming overwhelming for me. So I really have to take breaks and take a step back. So when I say ill, I also include this idea of needing self-care and saying, hey, look, I'm doing too much right now. I know I got this thing scheduled, but I'm just gonna have to step back this one time because this is a little bit too much for me. But for the most part, I stay consistent in whatever I'm doing.
Man, I love that answer so much
Mhm.
because I understand it personally.
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw a wild card at you. This question is not one I typically ask, but as a fellow creative, I have to ask this. You
All right.
mentioned, because I do the same thing. I end up taking on things, because I believe in creation. I believe that's one of the most beautiful things you can do as an artist. Whatever you feel it may be, creating is life. Literally, Pardon means life, to create. So, how do you take time for yourself when you need it? Like you mentioned, that self-care. What does
Mhm.
that look like for you when you know that you need to rinse, reset, repeat?
When it comes to self-care, the main thing that I think about are what things bring me joy that are outside of me hustling to try to get this stuff out, to get my projects out, to get my books out, to get my content out. What things do I do outside of that? Because ultimately it takes a lot for me to be that level of overwhelm where I'm like, hey, I can't do anything, because I already have so much enjoyment that I get out of the things that I'm already doing. But I'm not unrealistic to say that too much of anything is going to be a little bit too much for me, even if I love it. So I like to do things that are just enjoyable to me. So outside of that, I'll play video games. I travel. I like to try like new food places and things like that. Napping, obviously, sleeping, rest. That's real important to me. So I don't know about anybody else, but I wish that we could take back that part of like kindergarten where like people was napping and stuff like that and bring it into adult. So so that's what I do for self-care. But I recognize when I need these things just by how I'm feeling. I like listen to myself, my body, and things like that, and I regulate from there.
That's awesome, bro. I love that you recognize that, because
Hmm.
there's a certain level of maturity to say no and know
Hmm.
when to stop. You listen to your body, you
Yep.
know, because at the end of the day, the body's going to win one way or another. That's what I've
Most
learned.
definitely. Yeah, you're not lying about that. The other thing
Right.
I was gonna say too, real quick, the other thing I like to do is I like to spend like time with family, like my wife and whatnot. So so that's another self-care thing for me. I do enjoy spending time with her. My wife is like my best friend, so I really do enjoy you know um kicking it with her as like kind of a takeaway from just I wouldn't say the monotony, but just the busyness that comes with a lot of the stuff that you're doing with projects and then just work life.
Man.
Mhm.
And so with these, I guess the repeated actions and you're creating, you're
Mhm.
obviously creating memories,
Mhm.
with what you're doing, because when you get to do what you love, there's a certain joy with it. So has there been so far like a most memorable moment? I hate to have to word it exactly that way, but so far, has there been one moment where you were like, yeah, and that's why I do this here. That right there is why I do it. What was that
Yeah.
like?
So I'll be honest. The first time that I ever felt that way was the aha moment for me, and that's when I published my first book. That was that moment where I said, I really did this thing. There's so many writers out here who like will write a book and then they'll actually write a manuscript or whatever, and they won't actually put it out. They won't actually self-publish it or get a traditional publisher to put it out. But that was that first moment where I was like, I really did this thing. I really took the time to write a manuscript, get an editor, get somebody to actually create a cover for me, put it all together, and then sell it. And then I actually hosted my own event, my own writing event. And I had tons of people from, people I met in school, people who I knew at that current time, people who I worked with, friends, family, who all came together just to support me. So that was that moment, like I said, where I was like, man, like this is really happening. Like I just never forget like the way it made me feel. I felt like I really accomplished something from my own autonomy.
Man, and I love that. That sense of joy. And like I mentioned before we started, we're a fully transparent podcast. Like we're not just gonna highlight the highs, we're gonna highlight the lows. So I gotta ask this next question.
Yeah.
When being a creator and being autonomous, has there ever been any moment that you felt that you wouldn't be successful? And if so, who or what changed your mind? Like who brought you back and encouraged you to keep going?
You know, I see success as a ongoing journey. So I have a little bit of a different concept than most people do about that process, right? I still believe that there's a lot that I have to do and have to get done, but I try to celebrate the small wins. And that's important for me because again, I take on a lot of things and I always, look at the big picture. I always look at, am I at this end goal? But I've had to learn how to celebrate, the little things that I'm able to get accomplished here and there. Point is, when it comes to the whole not being successful thing, I've definitely had times where I felt that I was directionless and I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know where this brand was going. I didn't know what way I was going to be able to start making money. And I won't say that I don't even still have days today where I'm like, okay, what am I going to do at this point and that point? So I think this is a continuous thing. But what keeps me going is this idea that anytime that I have a goal and anytime that I say that I'm going to do something, I like to do that very thing. So I don't like to let myself down. When I've made a goal and I made up something in my mind, I like to accomplish that thing. Even if like I failed at like getting there at one point, I may just try a different route. So I think that when I've already set what I believe to be realistic goals in my head, if I don't meet them, then it makes me want to just kind of reset and do something different. So I just don't like letting myself down. So I would say that I'm probably my own motivator in that regard, but I do have a lot of other people, like, again, my wife, who encourages me, every day and supports everything that I do. That's positive, obviously, who have been positive reinforcements. And I have friends and supporters on social media who've also been very supportive as well, too, with this whole process.
Man, that's amazing. A lot of times we do feel like we're on an island by ourselves. Like you celebrate your wins with everybody, and sometimes with those lows, you do feel like you're by yourself. But I like your outlook. It seems like the way you view it, and tell me if I'm wrong. It just seems like a failure is not necessarily the end all be all. It's just an opportunity to try it, like you said, a different way. It's just okay. That door wasn't the best route. Let's go around to the back door. Let's go to the side door. Let's see what all opportunities are open. And that's a very optimistic way to look at it. And I like that. And I can tell from your energy that that's the type of lane you try to remain in. And I think that's important for creators. So kudos to you for doing that.
I appreciate that. And yes, you got it right. That's exactly what I'm saying. It's important for me to, try to pivot if I feel like something's not working. Or if I need to step away from it, just realize, hey, this is something I just totally need to step away from, either for now or just for good, because there's something else that's better for me to do, or something that's more geared towards what I need to do. But the last thing I want to say is I won't lie and say that I always know what direction to go. There are a lot of times where there's a lot of directionlessness, but I try to circle back and think about, what's next for me all the time.
Man, you told the truth. Because I know there's plenty of times with certain things I had to bump my head in the dark until I eventually found the correct path.
Right. It's like a continuous journey.
It is, bro. It is. It's a bunch of them with a bunch of bruises and band-aids, but you don't stop moving. You got to keep pushing if you really have that dream. So yeah, I feel you, brother. I feel you. Yeah. So my next question, I like to call it the long-term question, because a lot of times with a lot of people, I won't say in this because it's obviously not you. A lot of times, sometimes you can poke holes in someone's, I want to say, plan, because they don't have a long-term plan. Sometimes it's just moment to moment. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but I do think for the long term, you have to at least consider the future. So that's what this question is based on. So as Nicholas Jordan, Cool Colas, gamer, friend, husband, I'm pretty sure you got a bajillion hats.
Yep.
Where would you like to see yourself in totality now? I ain't just talking about just in one lane. I mean in all facets. In 1 year, in 3 years than in 10 years?
That's a great question. And it's loaded. So I'm going to try to take my
Very.
time with it. um, shit. I would say that 1 year from now, the main thing that I want to make sure that I'm doing is putting out my very first comic book. So I've been raising funds to get it out so that I can get an artist who can bring it to life. Like I told you before, I am a storyteller. As far as me, doing art and whatnot, I'm like a B plus level artist, but I know there's somebody out there who can really bring to life the thing that I'm creating even better than I can. So I want to have somebody who I can finance to do that. So in 1 year, my main goal is to get that comic book out. And the second thing that I would say within 1 year is to keep a consistent flow of income from a lot of the content I produce specifically on YouTube. I'm actually a paid YouTuber, so I actually am doing a lot of videos and things like that. So I want to keep that consistent. Now, you said 3 years.
Yep.
With the 3-year plan, the whole idea is for me at that point to have multiple streams of income with my business. So, at that point, making money from the comic books, making money from the books, making money still from producing content and whatnot as well too. And I also want to have a regular stream of funding in 3 years. And what I mean by that is, and this is something I didn't really get to talk about earlier, but one struggle that a lot of artists have, including myself, is how can I make money from the thing that I'm creating? Because the starving artist thing it's a real thing. It's a lot of people have to either use their full-time jobs in order to supplement what they're doing, or they have to do a little side hustle to supplement what they're doing. So I want to get into a groove where I'm able to just get consistent funding and get grants like artist grants, writer grants, and things like that that can help with the business. Because I'm gonna tell you this right now. This is a little secret I want to kind of let you in on. So I have so far created close to 100 main comic character storylines for one of my comic brands. So I don't have time to just every single year just put out one comic here, one comic there. I'm going to have consistent funding, because ultimately I want all of these things to come out there, because they're all great ideas. And a lot of people don't know about all the stuff that I've been doing. And I've been doing this for over a decade at this point. I've been writing all types of different comic stories for 2 specific comic brands. So I need to have the funding to get that moving. Now, you said in 10 years, what's the 10-year plan? For 10 years, the main thing that I want to do is I want this to be my full-time thing, or at least whatever systems I set it to be my full-time thing. The second thing is I want to start looking at how I can maybe look at independent producers or producers who I trust, who can help me to bring the things that I create, such as my comic books, etc., the stories that I create through them, to life on the big screen. So whether that's a TV show, whether that's a movie or something like that, that's eventually where I want that to go. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to be totally established by then, but what I am saying is that there will definitely be conversations by then on how I can get these, portrayed in a bigger light.
No, man, I'm always fascinated when someone has it planned out, because typically the 1 through 10 can throw people off, because usually people think 1 through 5, but the fact that you were so ready for that 10 is impressive. So kudos to you again.
Appreciate it.
I love the way that you leave yourself open to the possibility that there may be other ideas coming. Like you said specifically that you had for those 2 particular characters, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Once the ball gets rolling, you are so confident that those characters are going to be interesting. They're like, yo, people going to want more once they get that. Oh, you like that breadcrumb? Wait till you taste the meat. Oh, you taste the meat? Wait till you get the dessert. I love that.
Yep.
I love that.
I'm confident people will love my stories. Very confident.
That's it. That's it. Confidence is key, brother. And I love that you got that in spades, man. So
appreciate it.
Let's shift to, honestly, the final question. Like you've blown through these questions, brother.
I know myself, man. Or I try to constantly at least know where I'm at a certain place.
No, and that's a sign of confidence again. If you know yourself, talking about yourself is easy,
Yeah.
So this next question is pertaining to you, but it's mainly for the person that's watching this, because there are plenty of people out there with ideas. There's plenty of people with great characters waiting to be explored by other readers. You know, people who listen in here. So this is your opportunity to speak to them. So the hardest thing to do, to me, is to take an idea and run with it. And you've been doing that for 4 years, man. What words of encouragement do you have for the person who has an idea, they have a concept, they may even have a full plan, but they're afraid to execute? What words of encouragement do you have for them?
3 things. Number 1, whatever you do it with integrity. Number 2, just do it. And number 3, stop worrying about what other people think.
That last one. That last
because you start listening to other people who have already had their own dreams either killed, or they like don't have this ability to just support people in a positive fashion. They'll spread that onto you. It's almost like being a vampire. They bite you with their negativity and you become the same way. You become negative as well too, because you're like, okay, now they said that they don't believe in me doing this or this work in whatever way they said it. Now I believe that I'm not able to do it as well too. So anybody you're around that's negative, that doesn't believe in the things that you're saying, obviously, as long as there's has to be a certain level of realism, obviously, but then you have to stop listening to those people. You have to put things out there. You have to try things. Some things might not work, right? But you'll never know unless you actually try it out and put it out there. So I would encourage anybody to just go ahead and just try it out and see what happens.
That's all it is to it. Just get your feet wet, man. Sooner the better,
I did want to say one more thing to elaborate on that last point too.
Yeah.
And this is a big pet peeve of mine. Stay away from people who nitpick at shit all the time. Because there's a lot of people who will nitpick and say, well, I looked at your video and, your screen, it's the camera, I don't like the resolution. And I hear noise floor. Like, just ignore a little stuff like that. You don't need that type of energy. Just put the stuff out there and then just adjust as you're doing things, because those types of people will try to kill your confidence because they haven't done shit.
You're not lying, bro. Somebody who's been subjected to that same criticism by someone who is not as far along as I am. Yeah. If I wasn't as strong within my own confidence as I was, I would have been offended. But I laughed it off. I was like, man, you have no idea where I come from.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's how you got to do it. And you don't even have to. And the thing too is like, those types of people, you could explain all day, like, you don't really know me like that, this, that, yada, yada, yada. It's like, okay, whatever, man. I'm still going to do it anyway, even if you're, talking shit about me. It's whatever. And I think some people, when they do that, there are some people who give criticism, I will say this, and they mean well, or that was their intent, but the impact and the way that it came off to you was that it was trying to stop your dream. And what I'm saying is, don't listen to that piece of it. Still say, hey, there's a reason why you were passionate about this thing. So you want to make sure that you put it out there for the world to see. And again, if it doesn't work, you can either adjust or just totally get rid of it and do something else. Because chances are, if you were creative enough to create this one thing, there's a good chance that you're going to be able to create something else as well, too, if that doesn't work. So you have to think about it like that.
That's facts, man. That's huge facts, because the well doesn't run dry with one idea. And sometimes with people, and I'm about to use an anime reference. You have to believe in yourself to the degree that there's more for you because you're on the right path. So in the words of Frieza, even though he's a racist, he said something that still gets to me to this day. He said, iconically, this isn't even my final form. That right there.
I didn't even think he did say that.
Bro, this isn't even my final form. That's the job I run with every day, bro.
Most definitely. One last thing I wanted to say too is, and I wanted to kind of elaborate on the whole integrity thing as well too. When it comes to integrity, my main message is to a lot of Black creators, specifically, because there's a lot of Black creators who they see any type of opportunity or any type of thing that somebody throws at them where they feel pressured by the way that media either frames something or somebody else around them frames something, and they're like, I got to create this product how people will see it. You can create waves and you can create things that are actually original, things that people want to see, because there's a lot of Hollywood movies and TV shows that people are either tired of, they don't have good writing, people don't like them, and they're waiting for someone like you to create something that's original and new with your own ideas. So just be careful and be mindful of who you trust and whose ideals and thoughts you take on. Even if it's something that's very popular, that doesn't mean that you have to take it on as well.
It's facts. Just because it's popular doesn't mean it's right.
Exactly.
Brother, listen, Nick, I'm pretty sure you've inspired someone. They may want to pick your brain. They may want to get a one-on-one consultation with you. What is the best way to contact you to, really get the ball rolling as far as, picking your brain?
Most definitely. So there's a lot of ways you can actually contact me right now. The first way is through email, nicholas@coolcolas.com. So NICHOLAS @COOLCOLAS.com. You can contact me mostly on Instagram. That's where I'm most present. So that's Cool Colas, COOLCOLAS, no spaces. And YouTube, you can leave me a comment and I'll probably get at you on Instagram. So those are the main places you can get at me.
All right, brother. Anything big upcoming that you want to shout out, or anything that's coming down the pipeline that you want to bring awareness to?
So a few things. So one thing that I wanted to bring awareness to is the fact that I've written 2 books so far, and I wanted to encourage people that you should also try to do multiple genres if you are a writer. For me, I did 1 fiction book. I did 1 nonfiction book. My most recent book, which is nonfiction, and it's historical nonfiction mixed with being autobiographical. It's called the Pro-Black Blurred Series, Exposing Anti-Black Media Tropes the Blurred Way. In this book, I detail the different tropes, agendas, and things like that you will see in media, because the ultimate goal is for me to create and for other people to be an aid to me in creating a better media for Black people. So I talk about anti-Blackness, defining that, and also defining the common tropes and even some of the patterns I've seen that people haven't defined that people really need to know about and they can try to identify for themselves. So just as much as it's important for us to create better entertainment, we also have to create better education through the text and the different things that we actually create and allegories. We have to be able to educate our people. So that's the first thing I wanted to say. The second thing that I wanted to say is that, for the stuff that I'm working on, I have a new comic book that's going to be coming out most likely in 2026, but I'm currently funding it. The Flamer comic book. That's about this humanoid elemental character, and they all live in a world that's kind of like our human world, where and they have races, like fire is a race, water is a race, things like that. So it focuses on the racial aspect without actually talking about it. So this goes back to that conversation about allegories, and they fight almost like, and you brought this up when you talked about Frieza, like Dragon Ball Z fighters. They all have powers and they all try to save their world from other demons and things like that. So I'm currently funding that as well too. I almost have the money that I need to fund it, raising 5,000 at 4,000. So we're going to continue to keep it going. Yep. And we're going to get that comic book out. And the last thing, on YouTube this Friday, I'm going to be posting a video reviewing the movie Sinners and talking about the Black allegories in this movie. So if y'all aren't following me on YouTube, subscribe, check me out there, Cool Colas, and you'll get a lot of good information from me.
I love it, brother. I'm gonna make sure that I subscribe as well. I love it. My girl and myself are going to go see Sinners this weekend. We're the couple that certain movies we know are going to be such a big hit that we let the first wave of people go so we can sit in the audience and actually enjoy it.
I feel you on that. See, I'm the type of guy, I like my movie theater to be kind of quiet, because you'll have little kids like crying and all types of shit in the movie theaters. I'm not trying to deal with all that. So it's like I kind of like a quiet theater where I can analyze, because when I watch a lot of these movies and TV shows, like I said, I know there's a lot of tropes that are in them. So I'm curious to see like what is actually being put in the stuff that we're watching. And sometimes it's repetitive, but it's also good to take that and share that with my audience and say, this is what I got from that. I'm not just reviewing it, but this trope was here. this agenda was here. Be careful of this thing. Be careful of that thing, because this keeps showing up as a pattern. So I feel you on that, because I need to focus when I watch movies.
100%, bro. Yeah, I'm really excited to see it. I can't wait to see your review. I can't watch your review yet though, so I'm gonna subscribe, but I'm gonna come and check it out after Saturday, so I
All
can.
good.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm not trying to spoil it for you. I totally understand.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, that being said, man, this has been a pleasure of an interview. I love what you're doing, brother. Make sure you give me that link so we can support your dream for the comic book. I'm definitely gonna put my 2 cents in there to make sure that I help push it forward. But that being said, this has been again a pleasure. Cool Colas, Nick Jordan, the activist, the husband, the writer, the goddamn it, just say something else he is right there real quick.
Pro Black Blur King.
The pro, damn it, I love that. But that being said, this has been a Business Minute. I'm your boy, Sir. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, and all that jazz. And we are out. Peace. Y'all.